Hey everybody, so today I'm looking at my pond here. It's probably about 800 to 900 gallons. I wanted to upgrade. I've got a box filter on the back here, an OASA box filter. It's doing okay, but my water is a little bit greener than I'd like. So I decided to put in a natural bog filter. I've already started the project. I forgot to start taping before, but here is what the beginning of a hole looks like. That will eventually become a bog filter area, and then I'm going to run something a little bit of a stream, I think, through here, clear this up, and then I'll drop in sort of in this area into the pond. I'll place my filter on the far end, or the pump rather, on the far end. I'll run it around the back here and drop it in underneath the rocks there, so you won't see that so much. And this way I'll be able to pull from that side, dump in this side, and hopefully clear up the green water. With the ultimate idea is to overstock the pond, of course. The better the filtration you have, the more fish you can have. I got about 10 fish in there right now. You'll hear the frog. He's pissed off that I'm standing here. I got about 10 fish in there now. I think maybe 4 or 5 koi, and then the rest are a comet and some shabunkins. But again, you really can't see. Now I have a couple of hides down there. You can barely see. You really can't see much of anything. So that's the idea. I suspect I'm going to make this bigger. I spec'd it out here. On the long end, it's about 4 feet. On the width, it's about 3 feet. You want to do, my understanding is about a linear foot of pipe on the bottom per 1,000 gallons of water you want to put through this. I was figuring I could put about 4 feet on the bottom, 3 to 4 feet on the bottom. I suspect I want to go for a full 4, so I'll probably end up making this a little bit bigger, or I'm not sure I'm going to go wider and just make a sort of a matrix of pipe on the bottom, or make it a little bit longer. I gotta kind of figure all that out. But I will check back in as this hole gets dug and it all comes together. But right now it's me and a spade shovel. So let me get back to it. All right, folks, welcome back. The hole is dug. I'm happy with this. So it's long ways. It's going to be about 6 feet, including, the little extra for the spillway over here. I'll show you that in a second. And 8 feet for the hole, and then up to the edge of the spillway. So I just ordered a 10 by 15 liner and underlayment. You see I've got the trench in the middle for the pipe that I'm going to use. I'll show you that in a sec. And then coming over this way, it's going to spill in over here where the frog is. I've got it blocked off now because something has been getting into my pond and lunching on my fish. So I'm thinking that might be a raccoon, but since I've put this up, obviously nothing's gotten in there. I'm going to put up some other countermeasures too in the meantime, but so far so good. But that's what this is. That's what this chicken wire is all about. So I'll give you a look at what I'm using for pipe in just a sec. Okay, so I am back with my pipe. So I'm using just some ADS that I got from Home Depot. They actually sell this with holes in it already for drainage. I actually have that in another part of the property, but I'm not going to do that on this. I'm going to cut slats in this. I've already marked them out about 2 inches apart. This piece is 4 feet long. I'm going to have to cut into this somewhere and put a T in so that my 2-inch pipe with the water inlet will be have a place to go in. But I ordered the wrong part, so I don't have it right now. So I'm going to cut these though in the meantime. Important bit, make sure you cap the other end of it, otherwise the water will run straight through and all the slats that you cut or however you do it will be ineffective. And there'll be a 90 here that will go up, and that will act as my clean out. We will get to that in a little while, but let me get cutting. Okay, I've cut the the slats into this 4-foot piece of ADS, and you can see I set my blade, just measured up the blade so it was about 2 inches, a 4-inch pipe, so I go halfway through. I was going to go every 2 inches. You say I marked every 2 inches, but after I cut the first one, I said let me go every 4 inches because I felt like it was just going to lose the strength of the pipe. If I put too many, I can always, when I run this thing through and test the water flow coming through it, I can always add more, but you can't uncut something. So that's what I decided to do with that. As I mentioned before, they make this with the holes on the bottom for drainage. This is all going to get covered up eventually, part of another project, but for right now, 4-inch cuts halfway through the pipe, 4-foot pipe. And let me grab my 90, give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So I'll have a 90 over here. All right. Oop. Can't put it on because I am holding the camera. Let's try this. There we go. So I'll have a 90, and then I haven't cut a piece to go up yet, but I have a piece that probably qualifies as a piece that'll go on there. Something like that. All right. So this the 4-inch pipe along the bottom will be buried in that hole. It'll have about 12 inches of gravel, maybe a little bit more, 14 inches of gravel, pea gravel, 3/8 inch on top of it. This cutout will be cut and capped with a loose cap that comes off for access to clean out. And that is really it. I'll put a cap on that end. And like I had said, I'm going to need to cut this actually and take a piece out of the center somewhere for my input for my 2-inch pipe that's going to come in with the water from the pond. But I haven't decided. Once I spec this out in the hole, I'll determine where that pipe's going to come from, and then I'll cut the pipe. I'll cut this and insert a T, 4x4x2 T, right into this at the appropriate spot, so I have the best, straightest shot to get to the pipe. So that's going to be it for now. Next update will be when I got something more to show you. Hey everybody, sorry I skipped a couple of steps here. I apologize. I'll do what I can to show you what I did. This is all coming apart anyway to get glued. But so the hole was dug and the liner is in. I've already got a little spot here. This is where it's going to be a little waterfall trickling in. I don't have it running right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. I upgraded the pipe. I went from the thinner pipe to the thicker PVC. I was having a heck of a time finding this piece right here, which was the 4x4 into a 2-inch, because that's a 2-inch pipe right there. So I was having a heck of a time fitting in the thinner pipe with the 4x4 into 2. I was going to end up having something that just it wouldn't have worked out for me. So I went with this other pipe. It actually worked out great. It's a little bit stronger. My slashes are 4 inches apart. I've got holes drilled in. You can see holes drilled in there, across the top there. I've got them across the top there. I'm going to drill a few into the end over here where you see the little dots. Once this is all glued together, this is all coming out, like I said, to get glued. I've got one drilled into the end cap. So I'm trying to get as much water as I can coming out of this without making it too strong of a flow. I've got a 1900 gallon per hour pump, OASA pump on here. Right now it actually is pumping, it's great. I'm going to take this all out now, glue it all up so it stays in place, mount these bits over here, back here onto the wood railroad ties there. Probably get rid of this gate, or at least cut it down. But for now, that's kind of where we're at. Remember, when you glue, use the primer and the glue. That's important. but I got to pull all this out, dry it all up, and then glue it all together so it stays together. It didn't come apart when I was doing it, which is when I ran it a few minutes ago, which is amazing. I was very excited about that, but to be on the safe side, I'm going to glue that up. I've got a small entry over here that does not have any holes drilled in it. That'll be a clean out, so I'll pop that cap off, and I'll be able to either run a vacuum down there, you know, something to pull out whatever muck gets in the bottom of this. But for right now, that's where we're at. Take a quick go over here, see if anybody's up near the top. There's a couple guys there. See, the water's a little bit cloudy. This will be a good mark for what you're looking at here. We've got a couple of hides down there, another PVC tee, and a pot down there as hides for them at this point. But let's see what this looks like. That'll be a couple weeks out when this is all done and the biological filter gets established. But for right now, that's where we are at. I will be back when this bit here is a little bit further along, maybe once it's glued and I start getting the rocks. I've got 2 yards of pea gravel. This is going to take just over a yard, and then I'm going to use it elsewhere in the yard. And then we start getting to landscaping rocks and things, fun things like that. I got some back there. We'll figure all that out though as we go. And that's it. Stay tuned. So here's a quick tip. When you have everything fit and you've tested it and it's where you want it to be, before you pull these apart, get a marker and put a line and line up where these are going to line up when they're done. All right, you'll see I did it over here. All right, as I go through now, I just pull apart each piece. I do the primer, the purple primer, I do the glue, and then I push them together and I line these lines back up, and I know that this thing is exactly the way that I need it to be. It's a mistake you don't want to make because to redo this is a pain in the ass. All right, folks, we are back. Everything is glued. I painted this bit here black. The reason for that is I'm going to put the stones in. I just figured black will disappear a little bit better once we put plantings in and whatnot. So I painted basically the part that goes over the top and into the pond black. This will all be covered. As you see, I've strained all the water, pumped all the water out of it. I think I've got my levels set. Let's see what I did over here. Coming over here. So I've got some railroad ties. I've bolted this to the railroad ties. I'm going to attach the black hose coming out of the pond into that bit there. And then I've got a T down here. And I've got a ball cock there going to another hose connection. So the idea there is to be able to split flow between my old school OASA filter and the bog for now while the bog gets established. The idea is to eventually remove the OASA filter completely and just use the bog, and then potentially take this and make it into another type of waterfall setup. But that'll be for a future, maybe a future video, maybe not, but certainly a future project. So I've just brought over my first load of gravel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the gravel, because otherwise it turns the water to dirt for an extended period of time, which we don't want. So I'll be taking care of that now, rinsing, starting to dump. Once I start this thing up with a little bit of gravel in it, I'll make sure that all the glued connections are tight, watertight, not leaking. If there's a problem, better to see it now, and then we'll go from there. So I will be back. All right, I'm back. That's about a million trips with a wheelbarrow and 3/8 inch pea gravel. You see, I'm probably going to put a little bit more in there, maybe just a touch. They say you want about an inch of water above. I got about 2 inches, so I got some room for that. I started working on the entry into the pond. From here you can see I'm still controlling that a little bit, but everything seems to be buttoned up pretty well. I get nice flow. I rinsed the snot out of this rock, but to no avail it seems, because my pond is mud and there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do about that really, unless you clean the stones beyond what is probably humanly possible. So this will take a couple days to clear up. In the meantime, I had run it, and this was filled with some water, which I pumped out. Sump pump, very important piece of equipment for this whole thing. So I pumped that water out and I saved it over here. So what I did was I ran this pump for a while, and I didn't put rocks over here by the waterfall, and I put my sump pump there. So as the dirty water made its way towards the waterfall, I just pumped it out. So I got a lot of the dirt out of it that way, but you know, there's really not a heck of a lot you can do with this. I finally had to get to the point where I was getting some water over the side so I could design the waterfall here and try to figure out how to build that so that the water here would be the right level. So I think I got it all worked out. I'm gonna keep working on this. I'll keep checking in as rocks and stuff go in place, and the landscaping goes from what looks like garbage to something a little bit more presentable. So I will be back. Okay, back one more time. A little bit more work done here. You can see I got the stones in. It was the last time. It's running now very nicely. I got my little waterfall there, and I actually set it up so that both of my waterfalls are running. I have a splitter on my pump. That worked out well. I planted some stuff here. I'll tell you about that in one sec. I'm starting to do the landscaping around the side here. I've got gravel, see, sort of around the whole pond, backing up to a fence. So over here, I went with the brown pea gravel, which looks fine, and I'm bringing that same pea gravel up here. You can't really see the depth probably, but it works pretty nicely. Plants that I use, I just looked up online. I know nothing about plants, so I just looked up online what would be good in a bog or what would be good in a natural wetland, and impatiens came up. I've got, let's see, I've got the old things here. Tick seed. I've got foxglove. I've got phlox, Phlox, and I have canna, all of which was sourced at my local Home Depot. And so far, so good. Oh, one huge piece of advice. I can't stress this enough. Don't walk across your bog. The reason I say that is that I did walk across my bog, and it turns out that this pipe here, actually it's a 45 where you can see right there, and then it hits another 45 here and sort of drifts down into a 90 down into the 4-inch that's on the bottom. I walked across the top of that and I knocked it loose. So I had to dig out pretty much everything directly underneath where you see my little pagoda here. I had to dig that all out and had to pump the water out of this with the sump pump that I have, which again, so handy. So I did that and had to re-glue it. I actually ended up screwing it in because the glue wouldn't stick. So I ended up screwing it in and putting some clear caulk around it, essentially to seal it up. But so don't walk across your bog, but if you do, stay away from where the pipes are. Is probably the best I can do. I've had to move around in here to do some of the planting and whatnot. When you plant, you take the plants out of the plastic containers that they come in, and you leave the dirt on them. That is a better way to do it than trying to wash all the dirt off. And that is what I've done here. So hopefully, as this as this grows in, that'll really fill in that back corner there, and all of this will fill in nicely. And you won't see a whole heck of a lot of the gravel. Now, as far as what it's done for my pond, initially I've got a netting across because something's picking the fish out of my pond. That's another problem that I'll deal with another time. But and that's what this is all about too. The chicken wire looks great. I have a prison, a fish prison. So I put the pond on, put the bog on, and I turned my old filter on, my box filter, my Owasa box filter. And this, my pond, you couldn't see the bottom when I first did this, the mud and the muck that came off. And there's a lot of reflection right now in the trees, but you can see sort of in the middle, let me pick this up. You can see sort of in the middle, there's a, there we go. You can see the fish down there, and that's a strawberry pot. I had absolutely zero luck growing strawberries, so now it's become a fish hide. It sunk right to the bottom, works great, and the fish do go in there. You see there's a little guy kind of sticking his nose in there right now. And I'm just waiting, sort of as these multiply and go across the rest of the pond, they'll act as a more natural barrier from any birds. And you see I've got lily pads, those are fake. The vines coming off the sides, those are also fake. So I don't have to worry about those. I think I'm going to invest in a few more plants, something that I can drop on the bottom, maybe even actual lily pads that'll I can drop to the bottom in the middle there and help the fish have somewhere to hide, because after figuring that raccoons were what was taking my fish, I still have more fish disappeared even with this ridiculous setup that I have around it. So I'm thinking now it's death from above. I've never seen anything. I've got a camera, a motion sensor camera on this, and I've not seen anything come in, but I am missing 2 fish. Maybe they'll show up, maybe they won't, I don't know. Not a whole heck of a lot of places to hide in this pond, so we'll see where that all plays out. But back to the bog. This is how we look right now. I will check in again as I start to work on more of the landscaping. I need to source some more rocks. I have a few that I took from sort of this area where my little waterfall is. So this used to come all the way around. So I took some stones from there, and I just been grabbing some. I just added that Japanese maple not long ago. Since that is going to obscure some of the rock work behind it, I can thin that out a little bit. So I'm using some of those over here, but essentially this sucker is done for all intents and purposes as far as bogs go. Overall, it's 5 feet by 6 feet basically. I went down, it's maybe just about 1.5 foot deep. So I've got just about 1 foot of stones of gravel on top. I didn't put any sort of box or anything. A lot of people you see will use, they'll put like a folded box or something over the top of the 4-inch. I didn't do any of that. I just went straight in with the gravel, and my flow looks great. Again, this is what I have now is split between 2. Let's walk over, I'll show you the plumbing setup. So I've got the source comes in, the water comes in along here, pops up into this guy. You'll see there's a ball cock there and a ball cock over here. This one's fully open, this one's partially open. Then this one here runs over to the Owasa filter, which feeds into the back of the waterfall. And this guy here pops up into the pond. And I'm figuring that once this foxglove fills in, fills out and multiplies and does whatever it's going to do, that will be pretty much hidden from view. Same with these. I'm hoping that these will fill out around the back and leave the front so it looks cool from the front. That one over there, I'm hoping will sort of fill in that entire void, maybe spill into the waterfall a little bit. These guys along the back will just soften the whole back. My red stick that just broke off of a coral bell that I bought, and I stuck it in the water, and we'll see what happens with it. I have no real big hopes for it, but it did perk up when it got in the water, so that's exciting. So that's it. I will be back as we get further along the project. Okay, I think this will be the final video. What we have here is, as far as I'm concerned, my completed bog. So it's planted now. I went and picked up some driftwood to make the transition over here. You'll see it's fully rocked, and I have the transition from my walking area over into the pond with the change of rocks. Planted back in here. That's going to get some red mulch. That'll be the really final thing I do. I have to say that the water clarity is the best I've ever had. And it probably cleared up within 2 or 3 days. And you can see, these guys pretty clear. The next thing I'm going to talk about on another video will be the planting bags. I picked up the Aquascape Lily planting bags, and you can see I put one there at the bottom of that plant, and there's one at the bottom of those lily pads. I'll talk about those maybe in a different video. At some point I'll review those. Overall, pretty good. They're difficult to work with, especially for something that's going in the bottom. Like the lily pads, it's going down almost 3 feet. I had to get in the pond and just drop that down. And you can kind of see a lot of stones on the bottom because, of course, it didn't go straight down. You see, you fill it with soil and stones. But that will be for another video. For now, as far as the bog is concerned, I am very pleased with the way it came out. I'm very happy with the way the water looks, and just generally very satisfied with the way that it went. So if it's something you're thinking about doing, if you have the space and the desire, I say go for it. And as you can see, I did plumb it so that I have two waterfalls going, my original waterfall and the bog. Originally my plan was to get rid of the original waterfall and the mechanism for that, but I really like the way it looks, so that's going to stay. So for now, that's it. Thanks very much. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe. I'll drop things in from time to time, and enjoy. Bye-bye.